A major decision fails. Millions are lost. Customers are affected. Regulators start asking questions. The board asks management what happened. Management points to a department. The department points to a committee. The committee says it relied on information provided by someone else. And suddenly something strange happens. Everyone was involved, but nobody seems to be responsible. This is one of the oldest and most dangerous problems in governance. Organizations can have policies, committees, job descriptions, reporting lines, controls, and sophisticated technology, and still struggle to answer one remarkably simple question: who is accountable for what? That is where accountability frameworks come in. They can influence how decisions are made, determine who must act when problems arise, and completely change how organizations manage risk, performance, and responsibility. But what exactly is an accountability framework? Is accountability the same as responsibility? Can several people be accountable for the same outcome? And what happens when accountability exists on paper but disappears when something goes wrong? Get to know accountability frameworks. Today on Governancepedia, we're going deep into the systems designed to answer one of governance's most important questions: who owns the outcome? To understand accountability frameworks, we first need to understand why they became necessary. Accountability itself is not a modern invention. Whenever people have delegated authority to governments, military leaders, administrators, trustees, or managers, there has been a related question: how do we ensure that the person receiving authority uses it appropriately? As organizations became larger and more complex, that question became harder. Imagine a small family business. 5 people work there. Everyone knows who makes purchasing decisions, who talks to customers, and who controls the money. Now imagine an international organization employing 50,000 people across dozens of jurisdictions. There may be boards, executives, subsidiaries, committees, regional teams, compliance functions, risk departments, internal auditors, external providers, and thousands of managers. Responsibility becomes distributed. Authority becomes delegated. Information moves through layers, and accountability can become unclear. Management theory, public administration, corporate governance, and internal control disciplines therefore developed increasingly formal methods for assigning and documenting responsibility. One widely recognized tool is the RACI model: responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. But accountability frameworks have developed far beyond one matrix. Modern organizations may combine governance charters, delegations of authority, responsibility matrices, committee mandates, policies, job descriptions, risk ownership, control ownership, performance measures, and escalation procedures. What began as a basic question of responsibility has evolved into something much larger: an architecture for organizational ownership. Accountability frameworks do not exist in isolation. They sit at the intersection of almost every major governance system. Consider a board of directors. The board may oversee strategy and management. Executives may be responsible for implementing that strategy. Business unit leaders may own particular operational outcomes. Risk teams may challenge risk decisions. Compliance teams may monitor regulatory obligations. Internal audit may independently assess whether controls and governance arrangements are functioning as intended. And employees perform the activities that ultimately turn governance into reality. Accountability therefore connects authority, decisions, actions, and consequences. Modern organizations face an additional challenge. Operations are increasingly distributed across countries: subsidiaries, cloud systems, contractors, outsourced service providers, and automated technologies. A process might involve 10 organizations before the customer ever sees the result. But outsourcing an activity does not necessarily mean an organization can outsource every form of accountability associated with it. This makes accountability particularly important in areas such as corporate governance, financial reporting, cybersecurity, data protection, operational resilience, outsourcing, sustainability, regulatory compliance, artificial intelligence, risk management, and major transformation projects. Technology can distribute activity faster than ever. Good governance must ensure accountability does not disappear along the way. At its core, an accountability framework is a structured system for establishing who is expected to achieve, oversee, decide, approve, monitor, or answer for particular outcomes and activities. A strong framework normally contains several interconnected elements. 1. Clear outcomes. Before assigning accountability, the organization needs to define what is actually being achieved. Responsible for cybersecurity is extremely broad. Accountability becomes clearer when attached to defined outcomes, decisions, processes, risks, or controls. 2. Defined roles. Who performs the work? Who owns the outcome? Who approves important decisions? Who provides oversight? Who must be consulted? Who needs information? The terminology differs between organizations, but ambiguity should be minimized. 3. Authority. Here is something frequently forgotten. Accountability without appropriate authority can become dysfunctional. If someone is accountable for an outcome but cannot approve resources, influence the relevant people, or make necessary decisions, the framework may create accountability in name only. Authority and accountability therefore need to be considered together. 4. Decision rights. Who can make which decisions? At what financial or risk threshold? When does something require executive approval? When must the board become involved? This may be documented through a delegation of authority, decision matrix, or governance policy. 5. Evidence. Accountability should be demonstrable. That may involve meeting minutes, approval records, decision logs, performance reports, control evidence, risk registers, and documented escalation. Without evidence, organizations may struggle to demonstrate how accountability actually operated. 6. Monitoring and reporting. Accountability is not a one-time assignment. Organizations need to know whether accountable individuals are actually achieving expected outcomes. This means defining indicators, reporting cycles, review processes, and governance forums. 7. Escalation. What happens when something goes wrong? Who needs to know? How quickly? At what threshold? A mature accountability framework establishes escalation before the crisis occurs. 8. Consequences and remediation. Accountability does not automatically mean punishment. Consequences may involve correcting a process, providing additional resources, redesigning controls, changing responsibilities, or, where justified, formal disciplinary action. The purpose is not simply to identify failure. It is to create meaningful ownership. The accountability cycle. First, define the desired outcome. Second, assign accountability. Third, provide appropriate authority and resources. Fourth, monitor performance and risk. Fifth, review results and respond where necessary. Then the cycle begins again, because accountability is not a document, it is a governance process. Let's put this into practice. Imagine a fictional financial services company called Northbridge Financial. Northbridge experiences a major cybersecurity incident. Customer information may have been exposed. Within minutes, multiple teams become involved. IT investigates. Cybersecurity specialists contain the incident. Legal examines notification obligations. Compliance considers regulatory requirements. Communications prepares customer messaging. Senior management coordinates the response. The board needs appropriate information and oversight. Now ask, who is accountable? Without a framework, the answer might become dangerously unclear. The IT team assumes cybersecurity owns the incident. Cybersecurity assumes management owns the response. Management believes compliance will determine what happens next. Compliance believes legal is responsible for notification. Meanwhile, critical time is disappearing. A stronger framework would have established these roles before the incident. For example, it could specify who leads incident response, who can authorize emergency expenditure, who determines escalation thresholds, who informs senior management, who considers regulatory notification requirements, who briefs the board, and who owns post-incident remediation. Notice something important. Different people can perform different activities without eliminating the need for clear ownership. That distinction matters. Practical good practices include: define accountability before major incidents occur. Align accountability with actual decision-making authority. Document critical decisions. Establish escalation thresholds. Periodically test whether people understand their roles. Review responsibilities after organizational changes. And examine whether outsourced activities have created accountability gaps. Success should not be measured simply by whether an accountability matrix exists. Ask instead, could the organization identify the right decision maker quickly when something important happened? That is a much stronger test. Accountability frameworks are surrounded by misconceptions. Accountability means finding someone to blame. Not necessarily. Effective accountability is primarily about establishing ownership before outcomes occur, not assigning blame afterward. A blame culture can actually damage accountability because people may hide problems rather than escalate them. Myth 2. If everyone is responsible, accountability is stronger. It can be the opposite. When ownership is spread too broadly, individuals may assume somebody else will act. This is sometimes described through concepts such as diffusion of responsibility. Clear accountability reduces that ambiguity. Myth 3. Senior executives are accountable, so detailed accountability frameworks are unnecessary. Senior leadership may retain significant overall responsibilities, but organizations still need operational clarity. Knowing that management is accountable does not tell an employee who can approve a specific decision tomorrow morning. Myth 4. If we have a RACI matrix, we have solved accountability. RACI can be useful, but a matrix alone cannot necessarily establish authority, escalation, monitoring, evidence, and consequences. The tool is not the framework. Fact or fiction? If a company outsources an important business process, accountability for that process automatically transfers completely to the external provider. Fact or fiction? Think about your answer. In many governance and regulatory contexts, organizations can delegate or outsource activities while retaining important responsibilities for oversight and outcomes. The precise obligations depend on the organization, contract, activity, and applicable law or regulation. That is exactly why third-party accountability deserves careful attention. The big debate: how detailed should an accountability framework become? One approach favors highly specific responsibilities. The advantage is clarity, but excessive detail can create enormous matrices nobody actually uses. Another approach favors principles and broader ownership. That provides flexibility, but can create ambiguity. The strongest design often seeks balance, enough detail to make ownership clear without creating governance bureaucracy for its own sake. These concepts are often used interchangeably, but they are not identical. Responsibility. Responsibility usually relates to performing an activity or carrying out a task. Someone may be responsible for preparing a report. Accountability. Accountability goes further toward ownership and answerability for an outcome or decision. Someone may be accountable for ensuring the report is accurate, approved, and delivered appropriately. Authority. Authority concerns the power to make decisions, approve actions, or allocate resources. Oversight. Oversight involves supervising, challenging, or monitoring how responsibilities and authority are exercised. These distinctions become particularly important in governance. Imagine a major investment. An analyst may be responsible for preparing analysis. An executive committee may have authority to approve the investment. A particular executive may own aspects of implementation. The board may exercise oversight within its governance role. Multiple parties participate, but their roles are different. RACVE's broader accountability framework, useful for project activities, process mapping, clarifying operational roles. Potential limitation: it may become a static spreadsheet. Broader accountability framework can additionally include decision rights, governance bodies, risk ownership, delegations, escalation, monitoring, evidence, and review. Neither is automatically better. The right tool depends on the complexity, risk, and objective. Accountability frameworks have already evolved considerably, but one development could make them even more important: artificial intelligence. Imagine an AI system recommends rejecting a customer transaction, or automatically prioritizes job applicants, or identifies suspicious activity, or proposes an investment, or recommends terminating a supplier. Who is accountable for the resulting decision? The software developer? The organization using the system? The employee reviewing the recommendation? The executive responsible for the process? A governance committee? The answer may depend on the system, applicable rules, and how decision authority has been structured. But one principle is becoming increasingly important. Automation does not eliminate the need for accountability. It may make accountability harder to design. Future accountability frameworks could increasingly incorporate machine-readable policies, automated decision logs, real-time control monitoring, and digital governance dashboards. AI could also help identify accountability gaps. For example, this control has no identified owner. This decision exceeds delegated authority. This responsibility belongs to an employee who left the organization. This issue has exceeded its escalation deadline. That could make governance more dynamic. But technology creates risks too. If organizations blindly rely on automated systems to determine accountability, they may replace human ambiguity with algorithmic ambiguity. The technology may change. The fundamental purpose should not. Make authority, ownership, and answerability clear enough that important decisions never disappear into organizational complexity. Today, we discovered that accountability frameworks are much more than organizational charts or responsibility matrices. They connect people, authority, decisions, evidence, oversight, and outcomes. We learned that accountability and responsibility are related, but they are not always the same thing. We explored why authority must support accountability. We saw how unclear ownership can become especially dangerous during crises. And we examined why outsourcing, automation, and artificial intelligence are making accountability even more important. But perhaps the biggest lesson is this: when governance works, people should know what they own, what they can decide, when they must escalate, and what outcome they're expected to deliver. A sophisticated organization with unclear accountability can still fail. A good accountability framework makes ownership visible before somebody needs to ask who was responsible.